We're here in Berlin at the Block Show Europe, and we're meeting interesting people. And Pavel, nice to meet you. Could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Pavel Kravchenko. I am from Ukraine. My background is information security, cryptography specifically. I have a PhD degree in this field, and I work on tokenization of real assets. So I run the company called Distributed Lab, which builds like a framework to tokenize assets. And our final goal, mission, is to build financial internet.
And if you're talking about real assets, do I have to think about buildings or cars, or what kind of assets?
I would say it's ownership rights for anything that has value. So we view token as a digital representation of the ownership right. So you can imagine like currencies, stocks, loyalty, pieces of real estate, etc.
And as a specialist or expert, how do you see actually the tokenization work out at the token market, the ICO market? What's your view on it?
I would differentiate the current ICO industry and tokenization in general, because ICO is the way to attract money to some project through issuance of own cryptocurrency, own currency. And tokenization itself is the process when you digitize ledgers, when all the accounts are manageable by cryptographic keys. So the same way as Bitcoin. And it makes sense even for assets that are stored in a centralized way, because you increase efficiency of the accounting system itself. So it's like jumping from a paper era to a digital era.
Okay, sounds good. And what kind of trends do you see actually in the tokenization of real assets?
I would say people started to talk about security tokens. These are basically asset-backed tokens. And the trend is that assets and ownership will be fractionalized. So for example, the ownership of the land will be separated from the dividend cash flow that the land produces, and from the governance. So you can actually build very interesting models when investors will invest exactly what they want.
Yeah. Also a piece of a house or that kind of stuff?
Yeah. You can build really interesting investment strategies. Let's say you know that in your city there will be a new subway line. Yeah. So you invest in houses, a tiny amount that will be next to this subway line.
Okay, sounds good. And actually, for instance, I know in Georgia, for instance, you have, of course, the land rights are attached to the blockchain. Is that one of the applications you also think of? Or,
this is an interesting project. Like I say, no, right now the hash of certificate is added to the blockchain, so it's needed to validate the authenticity of the paper certificate. But in the future, the blockchain will become, maybe not Bitcoin, probably not Bitcoin blockchain, but some other system will become the primary source of information for the ownership, and that will be the interesting era.
Okay, something tell about distributed labs. I mean, what does distributed labs do, and what are the aims?
So we build software which is like WordPress but for tokenization.
Okay, cool.
Using that, you can launch your ecosystem really fast. So for example, for the use case of crowdfunding platform, we can launch in 3 days. So if somebody needs to do a crowdfunding, build their own platform, let's say an NGO for their non-profit projects, or maybe a video production company that want to do crowdfunding for movies, or or maybe cities that want to crowdfund the improvements projects, so things like that. So this WordPress, we earn money by licensing it as a standalone or a SaaS version, and then we customize it to help our customers to launch their ecosystem really fast.
And how many users or clients do you have of this software?
Like 6 customers, yeah.
Big ones?
No, it's different. Some of them are big, some are small.
Okay. And do you have an example, maybe some clients you can?
I think you've heard about Swarm Fund.
Sorry?
Swarm Fund. That's a San Francisco-based company. So they tokenizing investment funds. So we build the tokenization piece of it.
And can you describe it maybe as like an invisible technology? I mean, people use it. I mean, we use the internet, but actually these protocols are actually invisible. The TCP, IP, etc. Is that also where all these blockchains technologies are heading to? I mean, invisible, powerful technologies.
Yes, for sure. I don't think in 5 years people will talk about blockchain. If it works, then it's like nobody's talking about .NET or Java or C++. It's just there.
Yeah, it's infrastructure.
Yeah.
The focus is now more on protocols, like I don't know. Of course, Ethereum, EOS, but Zilliqa. We have the fastest. What do you think of this focus on protocols? Is that the current stage of this industry?
I would say right now there is a battle between blockchain platforms because they all compete for users. And the reason for that is that there is a native currency and it appreciates in value if more users join. So it's not about a technological war. It's more like a business war.
And do you have a personal favorite? I mean, if you look at the development of Ethereum, I mean, everyone is waiting for the Casper update. I mean, we spoke to Ethereum. They say, okay, this year, stage 1 of this update will, but it takes 2 to 3 years before the whole update is finalized.
I don't have a. I like Bitcoin because it's really solves the problem of getting money here and there. So I would say that's it for now. I like Lightning Network as a concept. It's really interesting.
So you're a Bitcoin maximalist, or?
I wouldn't say I'm maximalist. I just see that I'm a practical person. Here is the problem. Here is the solution. Sometimes people develop something that has no problem. So they develop solution for something that is not a problem yet.
Okay.
So, but again, from a scientific perspective, it's fine because people do research, they practice, they spend money, so that's anyway good.
And back to Ethereum, how do you see actually their application? I mean, they're one of the few applications that are having value. I mean, the smart contracts.
For issuance of unregistered securities, yes.
Okay. Last question: do you actually do some trading yourself, or hodling, or?
Surprisingly, no.
And do you have coins?
Never registered on exchange. Yeah, I have Bitcoins. Yeah, not that much that I would, don't sleep at night, but.
You just hodl.
I don't know. I just don't care. I think that I don't believe in the wealth that comes from out of the sky. I believe in the wealth that's created by a new business model or like something that generates value.
Okay. And what last question, final question? What is a project you are actually very enthusiastic about? I mean, what's?
We have one project actually, where we are stakeholders and the original co-founders. It's a decentralized auction for cars. It's actually pitching today. Hopefully, it will win.
Yeah. What's the name?
Shelf Network. So it has no token inside, but it solves the real-world problem of the synchronized auction across many trading platforms. Because it doesn't exist now. You cannot do it with a centralized technology.
So worldwide, connected? No.
Yeah, it's our first use case is used cars. So we connect supply side, like dealerships, insurance companies, banks, leasing companies, with the auctioning platforms. So we increase their outreach. We solve the problem with the rogue data, and it's the best price discovery mechanism you can ever have in e-commerce. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow! No, thank you very much, Pavel, for your time, and all the best with all the projects. Okay.